Admiral HFY stood on the bridge of his exploration ship and watched the stars through the wide window. His 3 ships had been traveling through empty space for many days now. The Zephyrian fleet was on a simple mission to map new star systems and look for planets that might be useful to their people back home. The Kepler 442 system looked normal from far away. It had a yellow star, much like many others they had seen before. There were several planets spinning around it and a thick belt of rocks and ice between the inner and outer worlds. Nothing seemed special about this place at first. HFY had gray skin that changed color when he felt strong emotions. Right now, it stayed a calm blue-gray as he watched his crew work at their stations. His people had been exploring space for over 2,000 years, and they thought they knew what to expect from the galaxy. Most systems were empty. Some had simple life forms. Very few had intelligent beings that could build ships and travel between stars. The science officer at the front of the bridge made a soft noise that meant he found something interesting. His name was Vextar, and he had been working with the long-range sensors for the past hour. "Admiral, I am picking up some strange readings from the asteroid belt," Vextar said without looking away from his screen. "There are energy patterns that do not match anything in our database." HFY walked over to look at the display. The readings showed bright spots of energy scattered throughout the rock belt. The patterns were not natural. They looked like the kind of energy that came from machines and technology. "Could it be some kind of natural phenomenon we have not seen before?" HFY asked. Vextar touched several controls and the image became clearer. "No, sir. These energy signatures are definitely artificial. Someone is using advanced technology in that asteroid belt." The bridge became very quiet. Finding another species that could use space technology was rare and important. HFY felt his skin shift to a slightly more yellow color as excitement began to build inside him. "Take us closer, but keep our distance. I want to see what we are dealing with before we make any decisions," he ordered. The 3 Zephyrian ships moved toward the asteroid belt at a careful speed. As they got closer, their sensors began to pick up more detailed information. What they found made everyone on the bridge stop what they were doing and stare at their screens. The asteroid belt was full of activity. Hundreds of small ships moved between the larger rocks like busy insects. They were carrying materials from one place to another and seemed to be building something enormous in the center of the belt. Vextar worked frantically with his controls to get better images. "Admiral, you need to see this. The construction activity is massive. I count at least 300 smaller vessels working on some kind of central structure." The main screen showed a fuzzy but clear enough picture of what was happening. In the middle of the asteroid belt, something huge was taking shape. It was long and dark and bigger than anything HFY had ever seen before. The small ships around, it looked like tiny dots compared to the main structure. "How big is that thing?" HFY asked. His skin was now showing clear yellow patches of excitement mixed with orange spots of concern. "Initial measurements suggest it is over 50 kilometers in length," Vextar replied. His voice sounded shaky. "That cannot be correct. Nothing that large could possibly function as a spacecraft." But the sensors kept giving the same readings. The thing being built in the asteroid belt was indeed enormous. It had a sleek shape that looked like it was designed to move through space at high speeds. Along its sides, they could see what appeared to be weapon ports and engine systems that were larger than entire Zephyrian battleships. Lieutenant Nexra at the communications station spoke up. "Sir, I am detecting organized radio chatter between the construction vessels. The signals are coming from a species we have never encountered before." HFY ordered the fleet to stop at a safe distance while they observed and learned more. For the next several hours, they watched the alien construction project with growing amazement and fear. The small ships worked with incredible efficiency. They moved huge pieces of metal and technology into place, with machines that seemed far more advanced than anything the Zephyrians used. The workers appeared to know exactly what they were doing, and moved with the confidence of a species that had been building such things for a very long time. "Admiral, I am picking up energy readings from their power systems," Vextar reported. "The output levels are beyond our measurement capabilities. Whatever they are using to power that construction operation could probably supply energy to our entire home world." HFY felt his skin shift to deeper orange colors. The implications of what they were seeing began to sink in. This was not a primitive species taking their first steps into space. This was a civilization with technology that made Zephyrian achievements look small and basic. As they continued to watch, one of the smaller human ships broke away from the construction site and began moving in their direction. It was still many, thousands of kilometers away, but it was definitely coming toward them. "They have detected us," Lieutenant Nexra announced. "The approaching vessel is broadcasting signals on multiple frequencies. It appears to be attempting communication." Kethvar realized that first contact with this unknown species was about to happen whether he was ready for it or not. He looked around his bridge at his crew and saw the same mixture of excitement and worry on their faces that he felt inside himself. The human ship continued to approach at a steady speed. It was much smaller than the massive construction in the asteroid belt, but it was still larger than any single Zephyrian vessel. Its design was different from anything they had seen before, with smooth curves and what appeared to be very advanced sensor arrays. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked his second-in-command. Kethvar took a deep breath and made his decision. "Prepare first contact protocols. We're about to meet a new species, and I have a feeling this encounter is going to change everything we thought we knew about the galaxy." The human ship was now close enough that they could see details of its construction. It looked solid and powerful and completely alien. Whatever species had built it clearly had capabilities that went far beyond what the Galactic Council thought was possible for any civilization. Kethvar wondered if his small exploration fleet was about to make the most important discovery in galactic history, or if they had stumbled into something far more dangerous than they could handle. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the UES Pioneer and watched the three alien ships on his main screen. They had been sitting at the edge of sensor range for hours, clearly observing the construction of the Leviathan. His communications officer, Ben Carter, had detected their presence early in the morning shift, and now it was time to decide what to do about them. "Any luck with their transmissions, Ben?" Jake asked, without taking his eyes off the display. Ben Carter looked up from his station with a puzzled expression. "They are using some kind of mathematical sequence that seems designed for first contact. Very basic stuff, really. Prime numbers, mathematical constants, that sort of thing. Dr. Rogers thinks she can work out a basic communication protocol if you give her a few more hours." Dr. Amy Rogers was hunched over her workstation nearby, completely absorbed in the alien signals. She had been the best xenolinguistics specialist at the Academy, and Jake was glad to have her aboard for situations exactly like this one. She looked up and caught his eye. "Captain, these aliens are definitely trying to establish peaceful contact. Their transmission patterns follow standard first contact theories that we learned about in school. They seem to think we are a newly discovered species," Amy said. Jake nodded and opened a channel to Admiral Patricia Hayes, who was commanding the entire construction operation from the orbital station above the asteroid belt. Her face appeared on a small screen next to his chair. "Admiral, we have 3 alien vessels at the edge of the system. They appear to want to make contact. What are your orders?" he asked. Admiral Hayes looked thoughtful for a moment. She was a veteran officer who had overseen first contact situations with dozens of species during humanity's expansion into this region of space. "Let them make the first move, Jake, but prepare defensive measures just in case. We do not want any accidents that could damage the Leviathan during its final construction phase." The alien ship was now close enough that Jake could see details of its design through the Pioneer's powerful telescopes. It was sleek and elegant, but seemed much smaller than he expected. The hull appeared to be made of some kind of metal alloy that reflected light in an unusual way. Ben's station started beeping rapidly. "Captain, they are transmitting directly to us now. It looks like they want to establish real-time communication. Put it through the translation matrix. Let Dr. Rogers handle the initial response," Jake ordered. Amy quickly moved to the main communications console and began working with the incoming signals. After a few minutes of back-and-forth transmission, her eyes went wide with surprise. "Captain, I think I have figured out their language structure. It is actually not that complicated once you understand the basic grammar rules. They call themselves Zephyrians, and they want to know who we are and what we are building out here." Jake considered his options. Humanity had protocols for first contact situations, but this was happening right next to one of their largest military construction projects. The Leviathan was supposed to be a secret until it was completed and ready for service. Tell them we are humans from Earth, and that we are conducting construction operations in this system. Keep it simple and friendly, he decided. Amy worked at her console for several minutes, carefully crafting a response in the alien language. The mathematical foundation that the Zephyrians had provided made translation easier than usual, and she was able to create a basic message that should be understandable. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Lisa Park called in from the Leviathan construction site. Captain Morrison, we are getting some unusual sensor readings from those alien ships. Their technology seems fairly advanced, but not as sophisticated as our current systems. Should we be concerned about them interfering with our work? Jake switched to a private channel. Not unless they become hostile, Lisa. Keep working on the Leviathan, but make sure our defensive systems are ready to activate if needed. We do not want any surprises. The response from the alien ship came back much faster than expected. Amy translated it quickly and looked up with an amazed expression. Sir, they are asking permission to approach closer for formal first contact procedures. But Captain, they seem to think we are a primitive species that just discovered space travel. Their message includes what appears to be basic information about galactic civilization and an offer to help us understand our place in the galaxy. Jake almost laughed. Humanity had been traveling between stars for 800 years and had established colonies across thousands of star systems. They had encountered dozens of alien species and were generally considered one of the more advanced civilizations in their region of space. How should I respond, sir? Amy asked. Tell them they are welcome to approach for peaceful contact, but also let them know that we have been spacefaring for quite some time and are familiar with galactic civilization, Jake replied. As the alien ship came closer, Jake could see that it was indeed much smaller than the Pioneer. The Zephyrian vessel was perhaps 200 meters long, while the Pioneer was over 800 meters. He wondered how such a small ship could have traveled the distances required for interstellar exploration. Lieutenant Commander Steve Brooks, who was manning the defensive systems station, spoke up quietly. Captain, their approach vector will bring them within range of our shields in about 10 minutes. Should I raise them as a precaution? Jake thought about it for a moment. Bring the shields to standby, but do not activate them unless I give the order. We want to appear friendly but prepared. The alien ship continued its approach, and Jake could now see that it had several smaller vessels accompanying it. The entire fleet was tiny compared to the human construction operation happening around them. Hundreds of human ships were still working on the Leviathan, and any one of them was comparable in size to the largest alien vessel. Ben Carter looked up from his communications station with a confused expression. Captain, I am picking up transmissions between the alien ships. Dr. Rogers has been monitoring them, and she says they seem very surprised by something. Amy confirmed this with a nod. Sir, they appear to be discussing our response to their message. From what I can understand, they expected us to be much more primitive than we actually are. They seem shocked that we were able to learn their language so quickly. Jake realized that these aliens might be in for quite a surprise when they learned more about human capabilities. Most species that humanity had encountered during their expansion had been less advanced than expected. It was unusual to meet someone who considered humans to be the primitive ones. Incoming transmission from the lead alien vessel, Ben announced. Amy took the message and translated it quickly. They are requesting permission to send over a small diplomatic party for face-to-face meetings. They want to exchange basic information about our respective civilizations. Jake opened a channel to Admiral Hayes again. Admiral, they want to send diplomats over for formal first contact. Are you okay with that? Hayes appeared on the screen looking slightly amused. Go ahead, Jake, but keep Dr. Wade in the loop. She will want to handle the diplomatic aspects of this encounter. And Jake, try not to shock them too badly when they find out what we have been up to out here. As the alien ships moved into close formation with the Pioneer, Jake wondered what these Zephyrians would think when they learned that the massive construction project they had stumbled across was just a routine military engineering operation for humanity. He had a feeling this first contact was going to be very interesting for everyone involved. The holographic meeting room aboard the Pioneer buzzed with nervous energy as Captain Jake Morrison prepared for formal first contact with Admiral Kethvar. Dr. Helen Wade, humanity's chief diplomat for the sector, had arrived just an hour earlier. and was now adjusting the translation systems to ensure smooth communication. Admiral Kethvar's image appeared in the center of the room as a shimmering blue projection. Jake was struck by how the alien's skin seemed to shift colors as he spoke, currently showing what appeared to be cautious yellow patches mixed with curious green swirls. "Greetings, Captain Morrison of the human species," Kethvar said through the translation system. His voice had a musical quality that the computers rendered into pleasant tones. "I am Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Exploration Fleet. We are honored to make first contact with your people." Dr. Wade stepped forward with a diplomatic smile. "Admiral Kethvar, we welcome you as well. I am Dr. Helen Wade, representing humanity in this historic meeting. We are pleased to encounter another spacefaring civilization in this region." Kethvar's skin shifted to brighter yellow colors, which Amy Rogers had determined indicated increased interest or excitement. "Dr. Wade, we must express our amazement at your rapid mastery of our language. Most species require many months or years to achieve such communication fluency. Your people show remarkable intellectual adaptation." Helen exchanged a quick glance with Jake before responding. "Thank you, Admiral. We have had some experience with linguistic analysis over the years. Perhaps we could share some basic information about our respective civilizations to better understand each other." "Of course," Kethvar replied eagerly. "The Zephyrian people have been exploring space for over 2,000 years. We have established colonies on 47 worlds and maintain peaceful relationships with dozens of other species throughout our region of the galaxy. We are members of the Galactic Council, which oversees cooperative efforts between spacefaring civilizations." Helen nodded politely. "That sounds like an impressive achievement, Admiral. Humanity has been spacefaring for about 800 years now, though I suppose our expansion has been somewhat more rapid than most species experience." Kethvar's skin colors shifted to what appeared to be confusion, with orange patches mixing with the yellow. 800 years is indeed a respectable time span for space exploration. How many worlds have your people colonized in that time? "Well, at last count, we had established permanent settlements on approximately 2,300 worlds," Helen replied casually, as if discussing the weather. "Though that number increases fairly regularly as our exploration fleets continue, expanding into new regions." The change in Kethvar's appearance was dramatic. His skin went through rapid color shifts from orange to deep red to what looked like shocked white patches. He remained silent for several long moments before speaking again. "I apologize, Dr. Wade, but there may be an error in translation. Did you say 2,300 worlds?" Helen checked her notes quickly. "Actually, Admiral, I believe the most recent reports put the number closer to 2,400 now. Our colonial administration updates the figures monthly, so it is difficult to keep exact track." Jake watched as the alien admiral seemed to struggle with this information. Through the Pioneer's sensors, he could see that activity aboard the Zephyrian ships had increased dramatically, with what appeared to be emergency conferences taking place on all three vessels. "Admiral Kethvar, is everything all right?" Helen asked with genuine concern. Kethvar took several deep breaths before responding. "Dr. Wade, you must understand that what you are describing is unprecedented in galactic history. The most successful spacefaring civilizations in the galaxy have typically established perhaps 100 colonies over spans of several thousand years. 2,400 worlds in 8 centuries is simply not possible according to our understanding of expansion logistics." Dr. Amy Rogers, who had been quietly monitoring the conversation, spoke up. "Admiral, perhaps we could clarify some details. When humanity refers to established colonies, we mean worlds with permanent populations, full industrial infrastructure, and self-sustaining ecosystems. Would that match your definition?" "Yes, that is exactly what we mean by colonies," Kethvar replied. "But such development requires enormous resources and advanced technology that takes millennia to develop." Helen smiled diplomatically. "Well, Admiral, I suppose our definition of advanced technology might differ from yours. We have found that once you solve the basic problems of faster-than-light travel and matter conversion, colonial establishment becomes relatively straightforward." Lieutenant Commander Steve Brooks, who had been monitoring the defensive systems, quietly informed Jake that the Zephyrian ships were conducting intensive scans of the Pioneer. Their readings were apparently causing considerable excitement aboard the alien vessels. Kethvar's skin had now settled into a pattern of deep orange and red colors that suggested extreme agitation. Dr. Wade, our sensors are indicating that your ship possesses technology that exceeds our capabilities in several key areas. Your faster-than-light drive system appears to be at least 3 generations ahead of our most advanced designs. The Pioneer is actually just a standard diplomatic and exploration vessel, Jake interjected. Nothing particularly special about her systems compared to our fleet average. This statement seemed to cause another wave of shock among the Zephyrians. Kethvar was quiet for almost a full minute before speaking again. Captain Morrison, Dr. Wade, I must ask directly, what is the current population of humanity, and how large is your space fleet? Helen consulted her notes again. Current population across all human worlds is approximately 900 billion individuals. As for fleet size, that would depend on how you categorize vessels. Are you asking about military ships, commercial transports, exploration vessels, or total spacecraft? All categories, please, Kethvar replied in a voice that sounded strained even through the translation system. Military vessels number around 200,000 ships of various classes. Commercial and transport fleets are much larger, perhaps 15 million vessels. Exploration and research ships probably account for another 300,000. Those figures exclude small system craft and personal vehicles, of course. Jake watched as Kethvar appeared to be communicating frantically with his crew through some kind of internal communication system. The aliens' skin colors were now cycling through patterns that Amy had never seen before. Admiral, I want to assure you that humanity has peaceful intentions toward all spacefaring species, Helen said. We believe in cooperation and mutual benefit rather than conquest or domination. Kethvar looked back at the human delegation with what appeared to be a mixture of fear and amazement. Dr. Wade, you must understand the implications of what you are telling me. Humanity appears to be the largest and most technologically advanced civilization that anyone in our region of space has ever encountered. The Galactic Council represents over 40 species, and none of them approach even a fraction of your capabilities. Helen exchanged concerned looks with Jake and Amy. They were beginning to realize that this first contact situation was far more significant than anyone had anticipated. Admiral, we had no idea that our civilization was unusual compared to galactic norms, Helen replied carefully. We have always assumed that space was full of civilizations similar to or more advanced than our own. The largest member of the Galactic Council has perhaps 50 billion citizens and 3,000 ships, Kethvar said quietly. Your civilization is hundreds of times larger than anything we thought was possible. Jake realized that this conversation was about to change everything about how humanity understood its place in the galaxy and how the galaxy understood humanity. Admiral Kethvar's request for a demonstration of human technology came after hours of increasingly tense discussions. His skin had settled into deep purple and orange patterns that Dr. Amy Rogers interpreted as a mixture of fear and desperate curiosity. The Zephyrian leader needed to understand exactly what his people were dealing with. Dr. Wade, I realize this is an unusual request for a first contact situation, Kethvar said carefully. But the information you have shared with us suggests capabilities that exceed our understanding of what is physically possible. Would it be acceptable for us to observe your construction vessel in operation? Captain Jake Morrison looked to Dr. Helen Wade, who nodded slowly. Admiral, we understand your concerns. Captain Morrison, would you be able to arrange a demonstration that might help our new friends understand our technology better? Jake opened a communication channel to the Leviathan construction site. Commander Rick Torres appeared on the screen, his uniform bearing the insignia of the massive ship's future captain. Behind him, the bridge of the nearly completed vessel stretched out in an impressive display of human engineering. Commander Torres, we have some visitors who would like to see the Leviathan systems in operation. Could you arrange for a basics shakedown run? Torres grinned broadly. Captain Morrison, we were planning to run the maiden voyage test today anyway. The ship is ready for full systems activation. Just give us clearance and we can begin the demonstration. Admiral Kethvar's skin shifted to brighter colors as he realized he was about to witness the operation of the enormous vessel they had been observing. Through the Pioneer's viewports, the Leviathan dominated the view, its 50-kilometer length making even large asteroids look small by comparison. Chief Engineer Lisa Park's voice came through the communication system from the Leviathan's engine. Room. All systems are showing green across the board, Commander. Fusion reactors are operating at standard civilian power levels, and all propulsion systems are ready for testing. Jake noticed Kethvar's startled reaction to Lisa's casual mention of civilian power levels, and decided not to explain the distinction between civilian and military-grade fusion systems just yet. The massive ship began to move with surprising grace for something so large. Its engines, each one bigger than an entire Zephyrian vessel, came online with a gentle blue glow that quickly intensified to brilliant white. The Leviathan accelerated smoothly away from the construction site, heading toward an empty region of the asteroid belt. Admiral Kethvar, our sensors show your ships are conducting detailed scans of the Leviathan, Dr. Wade observed. Are you finding anything interesting? Kethvar's response was barely above a whisper. Dr. Wade, the energy output from your ship's propulsion system is reading at levels that should be impossible to generate safely. According to our understanding of physics, a ship that size should require several hours to reach significant velocity. As if to directly contradict this assessment, Commander Torres announced that the Leviathan was preparing to demonstrate its faster-than-light capabilities. The massive vessel began to shimmer around the edges as its space-folding drive came online. Standard jump sequence initiating, came the calm voice of Navigation Officer Kate Thompson. Estimated time to faster-than-light velocity is 15 seconds. The Zephyrian ship's sensors went wild as the Leviathan disappeared in a flash of folded space-time, only to reappear several million kilometers away near the outer edge of the star system. The entire maneuver had taken less than 30 seconds. That is completely impossible, Kethvar said in a stunned voice. Our fastest ships require several minutes to enter faster-than-light travel, and only after extensive preparation sequences. A ship of that size should need hours. Lieutenant Commander Steve Brooks looked up from his sensor station with a puzzled expression. Admiral Kethvar, how long do your faster-than-light journeys typically take? From one star system to another, I mean... Depending on the distance, anywhere from several weeks to several months, Kethvar replied. Why do you ask? Steve exchanged glances with Captain Morrison before answering. Well, sir, the Leviathan just demonstrated a jump that would take it to the nearest star system in about 6 hours. Is that significantly different from your capabilities? The color changes in Kethvar's skin became so rapid that Amy could barely keep track of them. 6 hours? Lieutenant Commander Brooks, such travel times would revolutionize galactic civilization. It takes our ships months to travel between nearby systems. Commander Torres's voice came through the communication system again. Captain Morrison, we are ready to begin weapons system testing if your visitors would like to observe. We have identified several large asteroids that would serve as suitable targets. Dr. Wade looked questioningly at Admiral Kethvar. Would you like to see a demonstration of our defensive capabilities, Admiral? I want to assure you that these are purely defensive systems designed to protect the ship from space debris and potential threats. Kethvar nodded, though his skin patterns suggested he was becoming increasingly overwhelmed by what he was witnessing. Yes, please proceed with your demonstration. Chief Weapons Officer Dan Parker took control of the Leviathan's targeting systems and selected a massive asteroid approximately 2 kilometers in diameter. Target acquired. Engaging point defense systems for debris clearing demonstration. What the Zephyrians witnessed next defied their understanding of space combat. The Leviathan's defensive weapons, designed merely to clear small debris from the ship's path, completely vaporized the massive asteroid in a matter of seconds. The energy release was visible across the entire star system. Admiral Kethvar, I should mention that what you just observed were our standard debris clearing systems, Jake said carefully. They are not considered weapons in the traditional sense. Kethvar's skin had gone completely white, which Amy interpreted as a state of shock. Captain Morrison, the energy release from that demonstration exceeded the total firepower of our entire 3-ship fleet. You are telling me that was not even a weapons system? Dan Parker's voice came through the communication channel again. Commander Torres, should we demonstrate the actual defensive systems? I could target that cluster of asteroids near the gas giant. Negative, Dan, Torres replied quickly. I think our guests have seen enough for now. Let's not overwhelm them with the full capabilities demonstration. Dr. Wade noticed that the Zephyrian ships were maintaining a much greater distance from the Leviathan now, and their sensor readings indicated they had activated what appeared to be emergency defensive measures. Admiral, I want to assure you again that humanity has no hostile intentions toward your people or any other spacefaring civilization, Helen said diplomatically. The Leviathan is designed for exploration and peacekeeping operations in frontier regions where we might encounter unknown threats. Engineer Lisa Park's voice came through the communication system with a routine update. Commander Torres, I should mention that we are still operating on construction phase power systems. The actual military-grade reactors will not be installed until next month, when we return to the primary shipyards. Jake winced as he saw Kethavar's reaction to this casual mention that the Leviathan was not even operating at full capability. The alien admiral appeared to be having difficulty processing the implications of what he was learning. Dr. Wade, Kethavar said in a shaky voice, I must ask directly. The vessel we have been observing, this Leviathan, how does it compare to the rest of your military fleet? Helen consulted her notes before answering. The Leviathan is the first of a new class of frontier exploration vessels. We have 11 more under construction and several larger designs in the planning stages. It would be considered a medium-sized ship by our current fleet standards. The communication channel from the Zephyrian ships suddenly filled with frantic chatter in their native language. Amy translated quickly for the human delegation. Admiral, they are discussing whether they should immediately return to their home territory to warn the Galactic Council about humanity's capabilities, she reported quietly. Kethavar looked directly at the human delegation with an expression that seemed to combine awe and terror. Dr. Wade, Captain Morrison, I believe this first contact will change everything about how our galaxy understands the nature of advanced civilization. The journey back to Zephyrian space felt different to Admiral Kethavar than any trip he had ever taken. His 3 ships moved through the familiar faster-than-light corridors at their maximum speed, but every hour of travel reminded him of how primitive their technology was compared to what he had witnessed in the human construction zone. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called within hours of his initial report. Representatives from 43 different species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on the neutral world of Axis Prime, their various forms of communication creating a chaotic symphony of sounds, colors, and energy patterns. Chancellor Morden of the Altarian Republic called the session to order with obvious urgency. His scaled features showed the stress that had gripped the entire council since Kethavar's preliminary reports began arriving. Admiral Kethavar of the Zephyrian Exploration Fleet will now present his full report on the discovery of the species, known as humanity, Morden announced to the assembled delegates. Kethavar stood at the center of the great hall, feeling the weight of every gaze upon him. His skin had settled into neutral gray patterns, but occasional flashes of deep red betrayed his continued anxiety about what he was about to reveal. Honored delegates, what I am about to tell you will fundamentally change our understanding of what is possible in galactic civilization, he began. The human species represents a level of technological advancement and expansion that exceeds our current models of development. Representative Veltar of the Hegemony Council, whose people were considered among the most advanced in known space, interrupted with obvious skepticism. Admiral, your preliminary report suggested impossible population and fleet numbers. Surely there were translation errors or misunderstandings. Kethavar activated the holographic display system and showed the assembled delegates the recordings his ships had made of the human construction operation. The massive scale of the Leviathan drew gasps and exclamations from species that had never seen anything approaching such size. The vessel you see before you is 50 kilometers in length and represents what humans consider a medium-sized exploration ship, Kethavar continued. They are currently constructing 12 such vessels, with larger designs already in development. The hall erupted in chaos as delegates began rapid conversations in dozens of languages. The Crystalline Collective's representatives sent out harmonic patterns that indicated extreme distress, while the Void Swimmers delegation began the rapid color changes that meant they were calculating threat assessments. Chancellor Morden restored order with some difficulty. Admiral, please continue with your report. Humanity has been spacefaring for only 800 years, yet they have established permanent colonies on over 2,400 worlds. Their total population exceeds 900 billion individuals, and their combined fleet numbers in the millions of vessels. Representative Shanra of the Nexus Coalition spoke up in a voice tight with concern. Admiral, the largest fleet in Council space belongs to the Altarian Republic with approximately 8,000 ships. Are you suggesting that humanity possesses fleets hundreds of times larger than our most powerful member states? That is correct, Representative Shanra. Furthermore, their individual ships demonstrate technological capabilities that exceed our understanding of engineering limitations. Their faster-than-light travel operates at speeds that would allow transit across Council space in a matter of weeks, rather than the months or years our ships require. The implications hit the assembly like a physical blow. Trade routes that took months to traverse could be covered by human ships in days. Military responses that required weeks of preparation could be executed by humanity in hours. Representative Veltar stood again, his confidence now replaced by obvious worry. Admiral, what are their intentions toward established galactic civilization? Do they represent a threat to Council space? Kethvar considered his response carefully. Their diplomatic representatives expressed peaceful intentions and claimed to be surprised that their civilization was unusual compared to galactic norms. However, I must note that they seemed genuinely unaware of how advanced they are relative to the rest of us. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt of the Kepler 442 system, life continued normally for the human construction crews. Admiral Patricia Hayes received reports from multiple exploration fleets about contact with various alien species throughout their expansion region, but the encounters were cataloged as routine diplomatic situations. Dr. Amy Rogers had been monitoring communication traffic between different alien civilizations and was beginning to piece together a picture of widespread panic among dozens of species who had apparently discovered humanity simultaneously. Admiral Hayes, I think we may have a situation developing, Amy reported during the morning briefing. I am detecting coordinated communication patterns between multiple alien governments. It appears that news of our presence is spreading rapidly through their communication networks. Captain Jake Morrison, who had remained in the system to oversee continued diplomatic contact with the Zephyrians, added his own observations. Admiral, the Zephyrian ships have been maintaining a much greater distance from our operations since the demonstration. Their behavior suggests they may be intimidated by our capabilities. Admiral Hayes reviewed the reports with growing concern. Humanity's first contact protocols had been developed based on encounters with species of roughly equivalent technological levels. The possibility that they might be significantly more advanced than the galactic average had never been seriously considered. Dr. Rogers, what kind of communication traffic are you detecting? Hayes asked. Amy pulled up her analysis on the main display. It appears to be emergency diplomatic channels between what might be dozens of different governments. The mathematical patterns suggest urgent coordination and what could be threat assessment discussions. Back in the Galactic Council chambers, the debate had been raging for hours. Some delegates argued for immediate diplomatic contact to establish peaceful relations with humanity. Others suggested that the combined fleets of Council space should be mobilized for collective defense. Representative Kolvash of the warrior clans expressed the fear that many delegates felt but had been reluctant to voice. If this humanity possesses the capabilities described by Admiral Kethvar, then every assumption we have made about galactic power structures is obsolete. Our combined fleets would be utterly insignificant compared to their military capabilities. Chancellor Morden called for order once again. The question before us is simple. Do we approach humanity as equals seeking alliance, as supplicants, requesting protection, or as a coalition preparing for potential conflict? The vote, when it finally came, was closer than anyone had expected. The Council decided by a narrow margin to attempt diplomatic contact while simultaneously beginning coordination of defensive preparations. It was a compromise that satisfied no one but reflected the impossible situation they found themselves in. Admiral Kethvar accepted the assignment to lead the diplomatic mission back to human space, knowing that the fate of galactic civilization might depend on how successfully he could navigate this unprecedented first contact situation. His final report to the Council included a sobering observation that would be remembered for generations. Honored delegates, we have spent millennia believing that we represented the peak of possible technological achievement. The discovery of humanity forces us to confront the possibility that we are not the advanced civilizations we believed ourselves to be, but rather the primitive species taking our first steps into a galaxy far more vast and complex than we ever imagined. As the council session ended and delegates began the long journey back to their home worlds to prepare their people for this new reality, one fact became clear to everyone present. The galaxy would never be the same again. Dr. Helen Wade, reviewing the diplomatic reports from her office aboard the Pioneer, made a note that would prove prophetic. First contact situations are always unpredictable, but this appears to be the first time in human history that we have been the more advanced civilization in the encounter. We will need to develop entirely new protocols for managing relationships with species who may view us as we once viewed the ancients of legend. The construction of the Leviathan continued on schedule, but its significance had changed completely. What had begun as a routine military engineering project had become the symbol of humanity's emergence as the dominant technological force in their region of the galaxy. Whether that emergence would bring peace or conflict remained to be seen.